I bought gifts for all the grandkids, but when I handed them over, my daughter-in-law stopped me. It was not necessary, we already bought them better things. Her words fell like a bucket of ice water. I just smiled. At the end of the day, nobody wanted to open their gifts. That afternoon, while I was wrapping the last present with my trembling hands, I did not know I was preparing my own humiliation. Each package carried more than just bright-colored paper. It carried pieces of my pension, pieces of my heart pieces, of the illusion that I still meant something to my family. I spent $850 from a monthly pension of $1,200. Do the math, I was left with almost nothing for the rest of the month. But that is how we grandmothers are right, capable of eating canned beans all week just to see our grandchildren's eyes shine. I arrived at David's house, my only son, with 5 perfectly wrapped packages, one for each grandchild. I knocked on the door with a smile so big my cheeks hurt. I could hear the children's laughter, inside music, the sound of a happy family that I thought I was part of. Tiffany opened the door, not with a smile, not with a hug, not with a "Hi, Mom, so good you are here," which any decent daughter-in-law would say. She opened the door like someone opening it for the gas delivery guy. "Hi," she said, blocking the entrance with her body. She was wearing a pristine white dress. Her hair was perfect. Her nails were freshly done. Everything about her screamed money that I knew they did not have. But I would discover that later. "Hi, honey," I said to her, even though that word honey scraped my throat more and more each time. "I brought little gifts for the kids. Can I come in?" Her eyes went down to my packages, not with joy, with contempt. Yes, now I can name it. Pure contempt. "It was not necessary," she said with that voice she used when she wanted to sound nice, but in reality, she was being cruel. We already bought them better things. The world stopped. Each word fell on me like stones. It was not necessary. We already bought them better things. I stood there with my 5 packages wrapped with love, feeling my chest being crushed. Behind her, my grandchildren were running around happily. Matt, the oldest, at 8 years old. The twins, Sophie and Valerie, 6 years old. Little Ethan, 4 years old. And baby Lily, barely 2 years old. "Mom." "Who is it?" I heard Matt shout. "Nobody important, sweetie. Keep playing." Tiffany answered without turning around. Nobody important. Me, his grandmother. The woman who cried tears of joy when he was born. The one who spent sleepless nights when he had the measles. Nobody important. I swallowed hard. I smiled. Because that is what women of my generation do right. We smile even if they are stabbing a knife into our heart. Well, but I already came all this way. Let me at least say hi to them. Tiffany sighed as if I were asking her to move a mountain. She stepped aside just enough for me to pass, brushing against the wall. The house was decorated as if it were a castle. Balloons everywhere. A super long table full of expensive food. A 3-tier cake. It was the twins' birthday. A birthday to which, by the way, I was invited 2 days before. Like someone inviting the neighbor out of obligation. Grandma Helen Ethan shouted, running toward me. At least he still remembered me with affection. He hugged my legs with that strength that only children have when love is genuine. But before I could stroke his hair, Tiffany pulled him by the arm. "Ethan, careful. You are going to wrinkle your new clothes." She took him away from me. The boy turned around, confused, not understanding why he could not hug his grandmother. I placed my gifts on a chair near the entrance. The other children did not even turn to look at them. They were distracted by a mountain of new toys, shining in the middle of the living room, toys that I was sure cost more than my rent. "You can sit over there," Tiffany said, pointing to a chair in the corner. The farthest one, the one that was half broken, the one that was clearly for visitors who did not matter. I sat down alone with my hands on my lap and my forgotten gifts 10 feet away. And there, in that corner, while I watched my family celebrate without me, while I listened to their laughter that no longer included me, while I felt the weight of invisibility, that is where it all began. Because what Tiffany did not know, what none of them knew, was that this afternoon they did not just reject my gifts, they rejected the wrong woman. But that would still take time to discover. From my chair in the corner, I became a ghost. They passed by me as if I were part of the wall. Children, running adults, laughing, waiters serving drinks in crystal glasses. Yes, waiters. Tiffany had hired a catering service for the birthday of 2 6-year-old girls. I remained there with my wrinkled hands interlaced on my lap, trying to occupy the least space possible, as if apologizing for existing. At 4 in the afternoon, Tiffany's parents arrived, Mr. Richard and Mrs. Susan. He the owner of a used car dealership chain. She one of those women who gets surgery on her face every 2 years and wears dark sunglasses even indoors. They arrived like kings, visiting their subjects with their hands full. "The grandparents are here," Tiffany shouted with an excitement she had never used with me. The children ran toward them as if they were salvation itself. And I do not blame them. They arrived with gifts that made mine look like they were wrapped in newspaper. Richard was carrying 2 new bicycles. Not the simple ones from the department store. No, mountain bikes with gears, LED lights, matching helmets. Each one must have cost at least $600. Susan brought bags from an expensive department store. From there, she took out 2 brand new tablets for 6-year-old girls. "So they can learn French with educational apps," she said, with that voice of a person who has never had to choose between paying the electricity bill or buying medicine. The children went crazy. Screams, jumps, hugs. Tiffany was crying with emotion, hugging her mother. David, my son, was smiling proudly next to his father-in-law, talking about, I do not know what investment or business deal. And my 5 packages were still there on the same chair, unopened, untouched, unimportant. I stood up with the intention of getting closer, of reminding them that I had also brought something. But taking 2 steps, I heard Tiffany's voice. It came from the hallway, talking on the phone. She did not see me. Or maybe she did, and she simply did not care that I heard her. "Oh, Mom, I know. Yes, she came. No, we did not tell her not to come, because David says she gets dramatic. Yes, she brought her little gifts from the flea market like always. Cheap junk wrapped in shiny paper. The kids did not even look at them. No, obviously, they are not going to open them. What for? You guys already gave them the good stuff. Cheap junk." Those words entered through my ears and stabbed directly into my soul. Cheap junk. The sweater knitted by hand for Matt, where I spent 3 weeks of sleepless nights because my arthritic hands do not move like before. Cheap junk. The dresses I had made with a seamstress for the twins, with their names embroidered on the chest. Cheap junk. The wooden fire truck for Ethan, hand-painted by an artisan. Cheap junk. The musical mobile for baby Lily with silver bells that I inherited from my mother. Cheap junk. My legs trembled. I leaned against the wall. I took a deep breath. I was not going to cry. Not there. Not where they could see me weak. I returned to my chair. At 6 in the afternoon, they served the food. Long tables with white tablecloths. Porcelain plates, shiny silverware. Steaks, gourmet salads, sushi. Sushi at a child's party. The guests sat down. Complete families. Tiffany's parents at the main table next to David and her. The children at a table decorated with their favorite characters, cousins, uncle's friends. I waited for someone to indicate where I should sit. Nobody did. Finally, one of the waitresses approached with a face of pity. "Ma'am, would you like to get some food?" There was a spot left at the table in the back. The table in the back was where they had put 2 neighbors who arrived without invitation and a distant cousin that nobody knew. The rejects. The leftovers. I sat there. When they brought me my plate, it was not porcelain like the others. It was plastic, one of those disposable ones, and the portion was noticeably smaller. The neighbor next to me looked at me with pity. "Are you family? I am the grandmother," I replied with a threat of a voice. "Oh," she said without knowing what else to add. Her uncomfortable silence said more than 1,000 words. I ate in silence. Every bite tasted like humiliation. After the cake, after the photos, where curiously nobody called me to be in them after the games, the party began to end. The guests were saying goodbye. The children, exhausted and full of sugar, were running with their new toys. The bicycles already had bows with their names. The tablets were already set up. And my gifts were still there, exactly where I left them, unopened. Tiffany passed by them while she was picking up empty glasses. She looked at them. She even touched one with her foot as if evaluating if it was worth moving them or simply throwing them in the trash. David appeared at my side. Finally, my son. The boy I raised alone after his father died. The boy to whom I gave everything, even if it meant I was left with nothing. Mom, it is late. Do you want me to order you an Uber? He did not even offer to drive me himself. David, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The children did not open my gifts. He scratched the back of his neck, that gesture he had made since he was a child when he was uncomfortable. It is just that they already have a lot of things, Mom. You see how the in-laws are. They go overboard with the gifts. But I am also their grandmother. Yes, Mom, I know, but look, the truth is that Tiffany gets stressed when there is a lot of clutter. Better leave them there and we will see later if they open them. We will see later. Code 4. Never. Son, I spent almost my entire pension on those gifts. His expression changed. Discomfort, shame, number annoyance. Mom, I have told you 1,000 times. You do not have to spend money on us. We are fine. We are not poor like before anymore. Like before, when we were poor together. When he was not ashamed that his lunch was peanut butter sandwiches. When he hugged me and told me I was his hero. Now that he had a big house, a demanding wife, and rich in-laws, we were poor from before. I understand, I said, standing up. I am leaving. Wait, I will order the Uber. Do not worry, I will take the bus. Are you sure it is just that right now I am busy with the guests? I did not wait for him to finish. I took my purse. I walked toward the door. I passed by my forgotten gifts. For a second, I thought about taking them back, but pride, that damn pride, did not let me. I left that house with my head held high and my heart broken into pieces. On the bus back, a lady sitting next to me noticed my tears. Are you okay, ma'am? Yes, I lied. It is just the air. But it was not the air. It was the certainty that something inside of me had just broken in a way that perhaps would never be repaired. And the worst had not happened yet. I sat on my small sofa in my 2-bedroom apartment that smelled of loneliness and reheated coffee, going over every detail of the party, every look, every word, every silence. And then, like when you pull a thread and the whole sweater unravels, I began to remember. This had not started today. It had been going on for 2 years. 2 years since David married Tiffany. 2 years of humiliations that I had ignored, justified, swallowed like bitter pills, with the hope that things would improve. But they never improved. Only I got worse. Smaller, more invisible, more idiotic. The first humiliation came even before the wedding. David called me on a Tuesday afternoon 3 weeks before the ceremony. I already had my dress bought. Navy blue, simple, but elegant. It had cost me $280 that I took from my savings. I had also set aside $500 to give them as a gift. It was all I could, but it was given with love. Mom, I need to talk to you about something delicate, he told me with that voice children use when they are about to break your heart but want to appear reasonable. Tell me, son. Look, it is about the wedding. The courthouse wedding specifically. Yes, I have everything ready. What time are you picking me up? Silence, Mom. It is just that. Tiffany and I were looking at the numbers and the place is very small, only 50 people fit. Okay. And well, there are many guests. Tiffany's parents have a large family, cousins, uncles, business partners. It is important to them. My stomach began to close up. David, what are you trying to tell me? That perhaps it would be better if you did not go to the courthouse one. After all, the important one is the religious one. There you will be in the front row, I promise you." The world went silent. "Are you uninviting me from your wedding?" "It is not uninviting, Mom. It is being practical. Besides, the civil one is just paperwork. The real one is the church." "I am your mother, David." "I know, Mom, but I also have to think about Tiffany and her family. She is stressed with all this. Please do not make it more difficult. Do not make it more difficult. As if I were the problem, as if my presence were a burden." "Is that okay?" I said with a broken voice. "I will not go. I knew you would understand. You are the best mom." He hung up happy. I cried for 3 hours, and I kept my word. I did not go to the courthouse wedding of my only son. I stayed home watching soap operas that I did not register, eating sweet bread that tasted like nothing, while somewhere in the city my son was signing papers that tied him to a woman who had just erased me from his life. The church wedding was a month later. I did go to that one in the front row as he promised me, but not next to Tiffany's parents, who were on the other side with designer suits and elegant hats. I was alone. On my side of the church, there were only 3 people. My 2 sisters, Stella and Lucy, and Mr. Charlie, the neighbor from the building, who helps me with the grocery bags. Tiffany's side was full. It looked like a royal wedding. Flowers up to the ceiling, a 20-piece band, 500 guests. My gift of $500 disappeared among a mountain of envelopes that surely multiplied that figure by 20. After the wedding came other humiliations, more subtle, more silent, but just as sharp. The second great wound arrived 3 months later when Matt was born, my first grandson. I had knitted a blanket white with baby blue. It took me 2 months of work. Every stitch carried a prayer for that baby I did not know yet, but already loved. I arrived at the hospital with my blanket and a pot of chicken soup. Grandmothers know that after childbirth, a good soup cures everything. The nurse stopped me at the door. "Name, I am the grandmother, Helen Reyes." She checked her list. "You are not on the authorized visitors list. It must be a mistake. I am the father's mother." "I am sorry, ma'am. I can only let in whoever is on the list." I called David. He did not answer. I sent a message. Nothing. I waited 2 hours in that waiting room that smelled of disinfectant and broken dreams. Finally, David came out with dark circles under his eyes, but happy. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "What do you mean? What am I doing here?" "My grandson was born." "Oh, yes. It is just that Tiffany only wanted her parents to come in for now. You know, she is very sensitive. She says that a lot of people stress her out." David. I waited 2 hours. "I know, Mom, but that is how these things are. Better go rest. Tomorrow come to the house and you can meet the baby calmly. Tomorrow." Tiffany's parents were inside holding the baby for hours, but I, the other grandmother, could wait until tomorrow. I went home. I cried over my hand-knitted blanket. I did not eat the chicken soup. It spoiled in my refrigerator. When I finally met Matt 3 days later, 100 people had already held him before me. He already had new clothes that the in-laws gave him. He already had his room decorated with things they paid for. My blanket remained folded in a drawer. They never used it. Then came the daily humiliations, those that hurt more because they are constant like drops of water falling on a stone until breaking it. The biscuits. I always made my own biscuits, by hand, like my grandmother taught me, like I taught my son. Fluffy, warm biscuits that smell like home and love. One Sunday, I brought a batch for the family lunch. I put them on the table with pride. Tiffany looked at them as if I had put cockroaches on her tablecloth. "Oh, mother-in-law, what a shame. But homemade dough sits very heavy on me. I have a delicate stomach. David, can you go get some store-bought rolls?" David obeyed like a lapdog. My biscuits ended up in the trash. After that, it was my advice. When Matt turned one and started with tantrums, I suggested with affection, honey in my times, a little patience and love. With all due respect, mother-in-law, she interrupted me. Parenting methods have evolved. I read modern pedagogy books. Things are no longer done like in your era, like in my era, as if I had raised my son in caves. David, who was a polite, respectful, successful boy, turned out that it was all luck. Not my effort, just luck despite my obsolete methods. And then came the blow that should have opened my eyes, but that I, foolish me, also let pass. Matt's birthday, the first birthday of the first grandson. I thought it would be special, that they would ask me for help, that they would include me. Nothing. I found out about the party on Facebook. Yes, through a post Tiffany made 3 days after the event. Photos of the boy with his cake with his grandparents, the other grandparents surrounded by balloons and gifts. I did not know there was a birthday. I called David, shaking with rage. Son was there, a party for Matt. Oh yes, Mom. It was something small, intimate. And why didn't you let me know? It is just that it was last minute. We did not want to bother you. We did not want to bother you. As if going to my grandson's birthday were a bother to me. For 2 years I swallowed it. The last-minute invitations, the convenient forgetfulness, the comparisons with the other grandparents, the contempt disguised as it is just that Tiffany is like that, you know her. I swallowed and swallowed and swallowed until my insides were full of bile. And that night after the twins' party, after seeing my rejected gifts, after eating on a plastic plate, while the others used porcelain, that night something inside of me stopped swallowing. Something woke up, something dark and tired and full of a dignified fury that had been asleep too long. I got up from my sofa at 3 a.m, turned on the kitchen light, took out an old notebook and began to write. Every humiliation, every date, every witness, every dollar spent. Because if I learned something in my 67 years, it is this. Memory is weak, but paper does not forget. And I sensed that I was going to need to remember every detail of this silent war that I had been losing, but I was about to change strategy. A week passed since the twins' birthday, a week in which I did not call. I did not ask about the children. I did not send good morning messages as I had done every morning since Matt was born. Silence. And that silence was revealing, because they did not call either. Not David asking if I was okay, not the children asking to speak with Grandma Helen, nothing. I only existed for them when they needed me. And on Friday afternoon, as the universe had predicted with its cruel irony, they needed me. David called at 7 p.m. I was having tea with sweet bread for dinner, watching my soap opera. Mom, are you busy? The tone, that cheerful and urgent tone he used when he wanted something. No, son. Tell me, look, I am going to ask you for a huge favor. Huge favor. I was already preparing for the blow. Tiffany and I have a super important commitment this weekend. It is work-related, very urgent, and we need you to watch the kids this whole weekend. Yes, from tomorrow Friday afternoon until Sunday night. I know it is a lot to ask, but you are the only one we trust, Mom. The only one they trusted. How curious. The only one when they needed a free babysitter. But not the only one to include in birthdays or family decisions. And Tiffany's parents. I asked, although I knew the answer. They are traveling. Besides, you know they have their things. You are the grandmother. The children love you. The children love me. But nobody opens my gifts. David, I do not know. This week I have been tired. Mom, please. It is extremely important. If we do not find someone to watch them, we are going to lose a business opportunity that could change our lives. Always the emotional blackmail. Always making me feel that if I said no, I was the bad one. It is okay, I finally said, because mothers are fools and our heart is always stronger than our dignity. I will watch them. Thanks, Mom. You are the best. Tomorrow you pick them up at 5. I will tell them to get their things ready. He hung up before I could regret it. On Friday, I arrived at their house at 5 on the dot. I rang the doorbell. Nobody opened. I rang again. Nothing. Finally, Tiffany opened the door with messy hair and pajamas, with a face of annoyance. Oh, mother-in-law, I thought you would arrive later. They said 5. Yes, well, come in. The kids are watching TV. I went in. The house was a disaster. Toys everywhere, dirty dishes in the sink. clothes thrown around, the smell of trash not taken out. "Did you leave food prepared for the children?" I asked. "Oh no, we did not have time, but there is money on the table so you can order something." I looked at the table. There were $40. $40 to feed 5 children for 3 days. Tiffany, this is not enough even for... Oh, mother-in-law, you are good at making money stretch. Besides, there are beans in the fridge and rice. You will figure it out with that. She went to her room. David did not even come down to greet me. Half an hour later, they came down with suitcases, big suitcases, elegant clothes. David with a linen shirt, Tiffany with a beach dress and a hat. "Is that for a work commitment?" I asked, pointing at her outfit. "It is a corporate retreat," said David without looking me in the eyes. "At a hotel. But there are important meetings." Tiffany was already taking selfies with her latest model phone. "Well, Mom, call us for anything. The kids already know they have to obey you. There are diapers for Lily in her room. Matt has math homework. The twins cannot watch TV after 8. You know the routines. Wait, and the pediatrician's number in case something happens. It is on the fridge on a magnet. Well, we are leaving. It is getting late. Kids behave well with Grandma." And they left. They left, leaving me in that dirty house with 5 children, $40, and no clear instructions. I stood there listening to the engine of their SUV driving away, and something inside me whispered, "This is not right." But I swallowed it. Again, like always, I rolled up my sleeves and began. First, I cleaned the kitchen. The breakfast dishes were still there with stuck-on food. I cleaned, I washed, I disinfected. Then I made food with what was there. Rice, beans, some eggs I found at the back of the refrigerator. I made quesadillas with tortillas. I brought myself because I knew there would be nothing. The children ate as if they had gone days without tasting homemade food. Grandma Helen. "Why does the food you make taste better?" asked Ethan with his mouth full. "Because I make it with love, my darling," I replied, stroking his little head. Tiffany was right about something. I did know how to make money stretch. I used the $40 to buy the basics: milk, bread, eggs, vegetables. I cooked everything from scratch, 3 meals each day. But I did not just cook. I washed mountains of dirty clothes that I found accumulated. I ironed, I folded, I put away. I cleaned bathrooms, 3 bathrooms that seemed not to have been cleaned in weeks. I played with the children, Legos with Matt, dolls with the twins, cars with Ethan, songs with Lily. I helped with homework. Matt had 3 overdue assignments that his mom had not had time to check. I gave them baths, all 5 one by one, with patience. I told them stories before sleeping. I hugged them when they had nightmares. I did not sleep, barely. Lily woke up every 3 hours. Ethan wet the bed, and I had to change sheets at 2 in the morning. Sophie had a fever on Saturday, and I spent the night putting cold cloths on her. By Sunday afternoon, the house was impeccable. It shone, the clothes clean and folded. The children bathed, combed, fed, happy. I was destroyed. My back hurt my knees, my hands swollen from so much washing. I had not slept more than 10 hours in 3 days, but I did it because that is how we grandmothers are, because we love beyond exhaustion. David and Tiffany arrived at 9 at night, tanned, radiant, relaxed. Tiffany walked in laughing at something on her phone. David was carrying a bag of souvenirs. "Mom, everything good?" asked David, leaving his suitcase in the living room that I had just vacuumed. "Yes, the children are asleep." "Good. Thanks. Thanks." One word. Like someone saying thanks to the person holding the door open. Tiffany went straight up to her room without even saying hello to me. "Son," I said with a tired voice, "where are you coming from?" From the corporate retreat." "I already told you. Where was that retreat?" He got nervous. At a hotel near here." "Well, Mom, we are tired. Do you want me to order you an Uber?" "No, thanks. I will take the bus." "Sure, okay." "Well, thanks again." I left, sore, exhausted, with that bitter taste in my mouth given by the intuition that something does not add up. I arrived at my house. I threw myself on the bed without even taking off my shoes, and then, because the universe has a cruel sense of humor, I opened Facebook, and there it was, a post from Tiffany, her life 2 hours ago. Photos, dozens of photos. Tiffany in a swimsuit in an infinity pool, David with a cocktail in his hand, both in an elegant restaurant with lobster, beach cabanas, sunset on the sea, couples massages, glasses of champagne, the caption, "Deserved couples rest, Cabo without kids, freedom, love, total relax, Cabo San Lucas, Cabo." It was not a corporate retreat. It was not a meeting. It was not urgent work. It was a luxury weekend at a resort in Cabo while I, his stupid mother, was breaking my back taking care of his children without sleeping with $40 in his dirty house. My hands were trembling holding the phone. I kept looking at the photos, like self-imposed torture. There was one where the resort bracelets were visible, all-inclusive. Those places cost at least $1,000 a night, $3,000 for the weekend, while I stretched $40 for 5 kids, while they owed me $5,000 that they were never going to pay back. Something inside me broke, not with noise, not with drama. It broke in silence, like when a crystal glass cracks internally and on the outside it looks whole, but it can never contain anything again without spilling. I cried. I cried like I had not cried since my husband died. I cried from rage, from humiliation, from exhaustion, from loneliness. But above all, I cried because I finally understood something I should have understood 2 years ago. To them, I was not a mother. I was not a grandmother. I was a free service. And that night, I made a decision. I was no longer going to be free. I was no longer going to be a service. I was no longer going to be invisible. I was going to charge, not with money, with something much more valuable, with dignity. Monday morning, I woke up different, not lighter, not happier, but clearer. Like when you take off dirty glasses that you had been wearing for years and suddenly you see the world just as it is, ugly, cruel, but real. I made my coffee. I sat at my little table by the window, and I took my phone. I blocked Tiffany's social media, not out of anger, for mental health. I did not need to keep seeing her perfect life built on my back. But before closing Facebook, I saw something, a comment on her Cabo post, from a friend of hers. "Friend, you deserved it. After all the stress with the debts, you needed this break." Debts. That word remained floating in my mind like a fly in soup. What debts? If according to David they were fine, if they could pay for $10,000 parties, if they had a big house, a new SUV, designer clothes, what debts? The week passed slowly. I did not call them. They did not call me either. Saturday morning, David sent me a message. "Mom, can you watch the kids? Wednesday afternoon, Tiffany has a doctor's appointment. None, how are you? None, how did it go after watching them all weekend?" "Just, can you babysit?" I replied. "I cannot. I have an appointment." I lied. I did not have anything, but I needed them to feel even a little bit of what it feels like to be discarded. Okay, I will see what I do. And that was it. He did not even ask what appointment, nor did he care. 2 weeks later, on a Sunday, David called me. "Mom, we are going to have lunch. Do you want to come?" After a month of silence, suddenly they were inviting me. Something did not add up, but I accepted, because I needed to see them. I needed to confirm my suspicions. I arrived at their house at noon. I rang the doorbell. Tiffany opened with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Mother-in-law, come in, come in." The house was impeccable. Too much. Like when you clean in a rush because an important visitor is coming. The children greeted me with genuine hugs. At least they still loved me. "Where are we going to eat?" I asked. "Right here," said Tiffany. "I ordered Chinese food, to not spend so much." There it was again, the topic of money. During the meal, I noticed things. David was nervous. He kept moving his leg under the table. Tiffany was on her phone every 5 minutes. And on the table among the Chinese food containers, there were papers. Papers that they tried to cover with a placemat when I sat down, but I saw them. Bank statements, bank logos. When Tiffany went to the bathroom and David went up to change Lily, I was left alone in the dining room. The children were watching television in the living room, and those papers were there 2 feet away from me. I am not a gossip. I have never been one of those who check drawers or read other people's messages. But something inside me, that mother's instinct that smells danger from miles away, made me reach out my hand. I took one of the papers. It was a credit card statement. Chase Bank, in the name of David Reyes. Current balance $12,450. Minimum payment overdue $800. Late fees $1,500. My heart began to beat faster. I took another paper. Citibank, Tiffany Reyes. Balance $9,300. Another one. Nordstrom, department store card. Balance $4,600. Another one. Personal loan. Speedy cash. Amount $18,000. Monthly payment $900. Overdue 3 months. My hands were trembling while I checked paper after paper. It was not 1 or 2. It was piles. Credit cards. All maxed out. All with late fees. Personal loans. Payday loans. Even a pawn shop ticket. I did quick mental calculations. The total debt was approximately $80,000. $80,000. My entire pension for almost 6 years. How could a young couple with good jobs owe so much? And then I remembered. The wedding. That ostentatious wedding with 500 guests. The proposal in an expensive restaurant. The honeymoon in Europe. The house. Bigger than they needed. In an expensive area. The SUV. Brand new when a used car would have been enough. The parties. Every birthday of the children as if they were royal weddings. The clothes. All designer brands. For them and the children. The trips. Cabo, Puerto Vallarta. Twice to Hawaii. The toys. Tablets. Consoles. Expensive bicycles. Everything. Everything was for show. So that Tiffany's family would think David was successful, so that on social media they looked like the perfect family. They lived in a lie built with plastic banking. And then, like a lightning bolt splitting the sky, I remembered something else. 6 months ago. David called me crying. "Mom, I need help. It is urgent." "What happened, son?" "It is Sophie. She has a strong infection. She needs expensive tests and medication. The insurance does not cover everything. I need $5,000. I know it is a lot, but $5,000. My savings of 10 years. The money I was saving for when I got sick, for when I could no longer fend for myself, for my uncertain future. Mom, if it were not for her, I would not ask you, but it is my daughter, your granddaughter. How was I going to say no? The next day I went to the bank. I took out my $5,000. I gave it to them. "I will pay you back in 3 months, Mom. I promise. With interest." 6 months passed. He never paid it back. He never mentioned it again. And I, fool, never claimed it, because family does not charge family. But now, seeing those papers, I understood. There was no medical emergency. Sophie was never seriously ill. They used my savings to pay debts. Or worse, to keep up appearances. While I ate rice all week to save another $100. While I wore the same clothes from 10 years ago. While I turned off the heater to save gas. They went to Cabo. The paper I had in my hand began to crumple in my closed fist. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Quickly, I arranged the papers back how they were. I covered everything with the placemat. I sat up straight. I took a deep breath. David came down with Lily in his arms. "Everything good, Mom. Yes, son. Everything good. Lie. Nothing was good." Tiffany came out of the bathroom touching up her makeup. "Well, mother-in-law, I hope you liked the food." "It was delicious." I lied. We sat down to finish eating. They talked about unimportant things. I nodded mechanically. But my mind was elsewhere. It was calculating, planning, understanding. Finally, after dessert, which was a cheap bakery lemon pie, David cleared his throat. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something important." Here it was. That is why they invited me. "Tell me." "It is about, well, about the house. My house. The 2-story house I inherited from my parents. In the Oakwood neighborhood. Small, yes, but in an area that in recent years had appreciated a lot. A house that was worth, according to the last appraisal I had done, $350,000. My only possession of value. My only security. "What about the house?" I asked with a calm voice, although my stomach was twisting. "Well, Tiffany and I have been thinking. You are already getting old. That house is a lot of maintenance for you. The stairs, the garden. I manage fine. I know, Mom. But, look, we have a proposal." Tiffany leaned forward with a used car salesman's smile. "Mother-in-law, we know someone who is interested in buying in that area. He is offering $300,000 in cash. Quick deal. $50,000 less than the real value. And you come live with us." David continued. "We have a room on the ground floor. Small but comfortable. You would be with your grandkids every day, with my grandkids, and being their full-time nanny without pay. Besides," Tiffany added, "you can invest that money. We will help you look for something that gives you returns." Of course. And helping meant that money would end up paying their $80,000 in debts. They wanted to leave me without a home, without assets, dependent on them, tied to them forever. I looked at them. I really looked at them. My son, the boy I raised, the one who swore to take care of me always, and his wife, the woman who had turned him into this. I smiled, a calm smile, soft. "Let me think about it," I said. "Mom, but it is urgent. The buyer will only wait until—" I said, "Let me think about it, David." My tone was firm, firmer than it had been in 2 years. David fell silent. Something in my look told him there was a limit and that he had just reached it. I said goodbye. I hugged my grandchildren. I left that house. And on the bus back, while the city passed by the window, I made a decision. They were not going to have my house. They were not going to have me. I was going to protect myself for the first time in my life, and they were going to learn that mothers forgive. But mothers also remember, and when a mother decides that enough is enough, it is enough. I arrived at my house that night with a purpose, not with revenge, not yet, with clarity. I sat in my dining room. I took out an old notebook that I used to write down recipes, and I began to write. Everything. Every dollar borrowed, every humiliation, every broken promise. The $5,000 they never returned. Date, March 2024. Witness, none. But I remembered the bank receipt, the parties where they sat me apart, 4 in total. Witnesses. My sisters Stella and Lucy and 2 of them. The weekends babysitting without pay, 6 times in 8 months. The rejected gifts, $850 thrown in the trash. I wrote for 2 hours. When I finished, I had 3 pages full of a truth that hurt to read altogether. I was not a dramatic mother. I was a used mother. The next day, Monday morning, I did something I had never done. I called my friend Linda. Linda and I had known each other since elementary school. She had studied law. She worked 30 years as a lawyer for the state. Now she was retired. She lived 3 blocks from my house and was one of the few people I fully trusted. "Linda," I told her when she answered, "I need legal advice. Did something serious happen?" "Helen, serious, no, but I need to protect myself. Come to the house right now." Half an hour later, she was sitting in my living room with a chamomile tea in her hands, listening to everything. Linda listened in silence. She did not interrupt me. She did not judge me. When I finished, she sighed deeply. "Helen, you have been emotionally abused for 2 years, and now they want to take the only thing you have. What do I do? First, you need to document everything. Do you have proof of that loan? I have the receipt from the bank where I took out the money and WhatsApp messages where David asks me for it. Perfect, save them. Take screenshots." She took out a notebook and began to write. Second your house. Is it in your name? Yes. I inherited it from my parents 15 years ago. It is deeded in my name. Did you make a will? I remained silent. Linda. I told David verbally that the house would be for him, but I never put it in writing. Linda closed her eyes, relieved. Thank God. That means that legally you can do whatever you want with that property and nobody can force you to sell it. But David says they already have a buyer, let them have 1,000 buyers. Without your signature, nothing is sold. Period. She explained my rights. She explained how to protect my assets. She talked to me about wills, trusts, options. And if I want to change my will, I asked, timidly, it is your absolute right. You can leave your house to whoever you want, to an institution, to a cat, to nobody. Even though I promised it to my son Helen, a verbal promise is not a contract, and besides, promises are made under certain conditions of respect and love. If those conditions no longer exist, I understood. Help me, I told her. Help me protect myself. Linda took my hand. We are going to make a new will. We are going to document everything, and we are going to make sure that when the moment comes to set limits, you do it from a position of strength, not of begging. That week was intense. Linda accompanied me to the notary. We made a new will. There I established that my house, at the moment of my death, would be donated to a foundation that helps children with cancer, not to David, to children who really need it. I kept the document in a safety deposit box at the bank. I also did something else. I recovered all the receipts for gifts I had given in the last 2 years. I kept everything. Old habit of my generation. The knitted sweater, $45 in fine yarn. The embroidered dresses, $120 each. The wooden truck, $98. The mobile with silver bells, $230. It was my mother's, but I had the appraisal. Birthdays, Christmases, Children's Day. I added everything up $9,560 in 2 years. Almost a year of my pension and gifts that ended up in forgotten corners or in the trash. The numbers did not lie. While I was doing all this, David called 3 times. Mom, have you thought about the house? I am still thinking, son. It is just that the buyer is pressuring. Let him wait. My tone was different. No longer begging, no longer soft, firm. The 4th time he called was a Friday night. I was eating dinner peacefully, watching my soap opera. Mom, I need us to talk. This is serious. Tell me. Tomorrow I am coming to your house at 11. Tiffany and I need you to sign the pre-sale papers. I have not said I am going to sell. Mom. His voice rose in tone. It was no longer a request. It was a demand. I am not asking for permission. We need that money. We have situations to resolve. Finally, the truth. What situations? David's silence. The debts. More silence. Heavy. Guilty. How do you know I saw the papers on your table? The $80,000 you owe. I heard his breathing accelerate. That is none of your business. It becomes my business when you want to use my house to pay your debts. It is not like that, Mom. It is an investment. I would explain it to you if you were not so what, David? So complicated. Always so dramatic. Dramatic. I swallowed 2 years of humiliation without saying a word. And tell me, son. My voice came out ice cold. The $5,000 I lent you were also for an investment. Deadly silence. Because you told me it was for a medical emergency for Sophie. But Sophie was never sick. Was she, Mom, right? There was a problem with the credit cards. They were going to repossess the SUV. We needed... You lied. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. You lied to me, David. And you used your daughter as an excuse to drain my savings. It was an emergency. What did you want me to do? Let us lose the truck. I wanted you to tell them the truth and have them sell that truck they cannot afford instead of living a lie. You don't understand anything. Vanessa has a reputation to maintain. Her family expects... And what does your family expect, David? Your mother. What does she expect? You always supported us. You were always there to help. Helping is one thing. Being used is another. Don't be unfair. Unfair me. After taking care of your children while you went on vacation, after eating off plastic plates while your father-in-law ate off fine china, after you left my gifts unopened as if they were trash. You are going to start with that again. Yes, David, I am going to start, because I never finished, because I swallowed everything. But it is over. Mom, if you don't help us with this, we are going to lose the house. And there it was. The final truth. They did not want me to sell so I could live with them. They wanted me to sell to save them. That is not my responsibility. I am your son, and I am your mother, not your bank, not your maid, not your lifesaver every time you and your wife make bad decisions. Vanessa is right. You are selfish. You always were. Those words hurt more than all the previous ones combined. If you believe that, I said with a trembling but firm voice, then we have nothing more to talk about. David, don't come tomorrow. I am not going to sign anything. My house is mine, and it is going to stay mine until the day I decide what to do with it. You are going to regret this. I already have regrets, David, about many things, but about this I am not going to regret a thing. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I let myself fall onto the armchair, and I cried, not from sadness, from liberation. For the first time in 2 years, I had said no, and the sky did not fall. The world did not end. I was still there, stronger than I thought. That night, I slept better than I had in months, because finally I understood something I should have always known. A mother's love has no limits, but self-respect shouldn't have them either, and I had just found mine. But this was just beginning, because David was not the type to accept a no for an answer, and what came next that showed me what my son was really made of. After hanging up on David that night, something changed in me. It wasn't immediate. It wasn't magical. It was like when the sun comes out after a storm, slow, gradual, but inevitable. I got up from the armchair. I washed my face. I looked at myself in the mirror. And for the first time in a long time, I recognized the woman staring back at me. It wasn't the invisible grandmother begging for crumbs of affection. It was Helen Reyes, 67 years old, widow, survivor. A woman who had raised a son alone while working double shifts. A woman who had buried her husband and did not crumble. A woman who deserved respect. When had I forgotten that I made myself some tea? I sat at my table, and I began to plan. If David thought this was over, he was wrong. This was just starting, but this time with my rules. The next day, Saturday, I called my sisters. Stella, the oldest, 72 years old, a retired teacher, also a widow. Lucy, the youngest, 63, a seamstress married to Robert. We hadn't gathered in months. David always made excuses not to visit them. They live too far away, Mom. The kids get bored there. Vanessa has things to do. The truth is, they never liked Vanessa, and Vanessa knew it. Sisters. I told them when they arrived at my house that afternoon with pastries and hot chocolate, I need your help. I told them everything, every detail, every humiliation, every lie. Stella clenched her fists. Lucy cried out of anger. That boy, Stella said with a voice of steel. You raised him better than this. That woman ruined him, Lucy added. Ever since he married her, he changed. I can't blame just her, I said. David is an adult. He is choosing this. And what are you going to do? Stella asked. I am going to protect myself, but I need you to be witnesses of everything. I showed them my notebook with the notes, the receipts, the screenshots. Good Lord, Helen, Lucy whispered, looking at the numbers. They stole your future. They are not going to steal it anymore. That day we made a plan. Stella, with her experience as a teacher who never let anyone push her around, advised me. You need to document every interaction. If they call you, record it. If they text you, screenshot it. They are going to want to make you look like the bad guy. Do not let them." Lucy, more emotional but equally strong, added, "And you need witnesses, sister. Don't face them alone. We are going to be there. But above all," Stella said, taking my hand, "don't fight from anger. Fight from reason with a cool head. That is where you win." She was right. The following days passed strangely quiet. David didn't call, didn't write. Silence. It was the silence children use when they are upset and want to punish you with their absence. The silence that used to break my heart. But now it was peace. I used that time wisely. I went to the bank. I spoke with my account manager. "Mrs. Reyes, how can I help you? I need to make sure that no one other than me can access my accounts or make movements. We reviewed everything: passwords, access, authorized signatures. Is there anyone else registered on your accounts? There shouldn't be." She checked the system. "No, ma'am, only you." I sighed, relieved. "But I recommend activating two-factor authentication and transaction alerts via text message." I did it all. I also did something more important. I went to the law firm where my new will was kept. Counselor. I said to the notary, an older man with thick glasses, "Is there any way for my son to know I changed the will?" "No, ma'am, the will is confidential until the moment of your passing." "Perfect. But," he added with professional curiosity, "may I ask why you made this change? It is not common for a mother to disinherit her only son." "I didn't disinherit him, counselor. I just decided that my assets would do more good elsewhere." He nodded, didn't judge, just took notes. "One more thing," I said. "Can I add a clause?" "Depends on what kind." "I want a letter to be included when the will is read. A letter explaining why I made this decision." "A posthumous letter." "Exactly." He looked at me over his glasses. Mrs. Reyes' wills with explanatory letters are usually the ones that hurt the most. "Are you sure?" "Completely." That afternoon, sitting in my dining room, I wrote the letter. Not with anger, not with hate, with truth. "David, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer here, and it means you will finally know the truth of why I made this decision. It was not revenge, it was protection. Protection toward children who don't have grandmothers, toward families that need a roof, toward a future I couldn't secure for myself, but that I can secure for others. I loved you. I love you. I will always love you. But loving does not mean letting myself be used. Loving does not mean handing over my dignity along with my assets. I hope that when you read this, you understand that a mother can forgive everything except losing herself. With eternal love, your mom." I folded the letter. I sealed it. I handed it to the notary. "This will be read along with the will," he confirmed. I left that office feeling lighter. I had secured my future, or at least I had prevented my assets from ending up paying debts for a life that wasn't mine. But the plan didn't end there, because I knew David wasn't going to give up, and I was right. 2 weeks later, a Tuesday afternoon, there was a knock on my door. I opened it. It was David, alone, without Vanessa, without the kids, with a face like he hadn't slept in days. "Mom, can we talk?" I let him in. We sat in the living room, him on the sofa, me in my chair, like strangers. "I came to ask for your forgiveness," he said with a broken voice, and he started to cry. Not whimpering, real crying, desperate. "Mom, I am desperate. Vanessa and we are going to lose everything. The bank is about to foreclose on the house. They already took the SUV. We are getting sued over the credit cards. And," he looked at me confused, "and, Mom, we are going to end up on the street with 5 kids. You should have thought about those 5 kids before spending $3,000 in Cancun." He lowered his head. "You are right. We were idiots, but we just wanted to prove to Vanessa's family that I was enough. that I wasn't the poor guy who married their daughter. And proving that was worth losing your dignity. Was it worth lying to me? Was it worth humiliating me? I didn't mean to humiliate you, Mom, but you did, over and over again. I know, and I am sorry. But please help us. We only need $20,000 to fix the most urgent debts. We will pay you back. Like you paid me back the previous $5,000. He stayed silent. David, I said with a tired voice, those $20,000 are almost everything I have. If I give them to you, what is going to happen in 6 months when you are in crisis again? It won't happen. Yes, it will happen, because nothing has changed. Vanessa still wants to show off, you still let her, and I continue to be your lifesaver. I already talked to her. She is going to change. Where is she right now? At the house. Why didn't she come with you to apologize? Silence. Because she doesn't believe we did anything wrong, does she? He didn't answer, but his silence said everything. David, leave. Mom, leave, and think carefully about what you really want in your life. Because if you want a relationship with me, it is going to be on my terms, with respect, with honesty, without manipulation. And the kids. Don't you care about your grandkids? That low blow. I care about them more than you imagine. That is why I am not going to teach them that it is okay to use people even if those people are family. He stood up, defeated. At the door, he turned back. Do you not love me anymore? That question broke me. I love you so much that I prefer to see you fall now and learn than to keep rescuing you and watch you sink deeper. He left, and I stayed there standing by the window watching him walk toward his old car, probably borrowed, with his shoulders slumped. And it hurt. It hurt like it hurts to reject a child, but I knew it was necessary because sometimes true love isn't giving, it's knowing when to stop giving. That night, Linda called me. How do you feel, my friend? Like my heart has been ripped out. It is normal. You just set boundaries for the first time in your life. Did I do the right thing? You did the right thing, which isn't always the same as what feels good. She was right. But what she didn't know, what none of us knew, is that David had an ace up his sleeve, a desperate move. And when he played it, everything exploded in a way I never imagined. 2 months passed, 2 months of absolute silence. No calls, no messages, not even photos of the kids on social media. It was as if David and his family had disappeared from my life. And it hurts. I'm not going to lie. It hurts when your child's silence is so heavy it wakes you up at night. But I stood firm. I used that time to heal, to reconnect with myself. I started going to the park to walk every morning. I resumed my prayer group at church. I spent afternoons with my sisters. I read books I had left stored away for years. I discovered that peace, even if lonely, was better than toxic company. Until one Friday afternoon in October, my phone rang. David. My heart skipped a beat. Had he reconsidered? Was he coming to apologize for real, hello, Mom? His voice sounded different, weird, like forced. How are you? Good, son. And you? I need to see you. It is about the house. There it was again. The house. David, we already talked about that. No, Mom. Listen to me. It is not what you think. Just, can you come tomorrow at 11 to the house? Please. Something in his tone put me on alert. What is going on? Just come. It is important. Trust me. Trust me. The words people use before betraying you. But he was my son, and a mother's foolish hope never dies completely. Okay, I will be there. That night, I barely slept. I called Linda. Friend David asked me to go over tomorrow. He says it is about the house. Don't go alone. What? Don't go alone. When someone desperate summons you to talk about property, it is never good. I am going with you. I don't want to make a scene. Helen, your son owes you $5,000, wants your house worth $300,000, and is up to his neck in debt. This is already a scene. I am going with you." And so it was. Saturday at 11 in the morning, Linda and I arrived at David's house. She carried a briefcase. I carried my purse and nerves in my stomach. We rang the doorbell. David opened, surprised to see Linda. "Mom, I thought you would come alone." Linda accompanied me. "Is there a problem?" He hesitated but stepped aside. "No, there is no problem. Come in." We entered. The house looked different, emptier. Some things were missing. The big painting in the living room, the expensive lamp in the dining room. "Did you sell things?" I asked. "We had to adjust," he replied without looking me in the eye. He led us to the living room, and there they were. Vanessa sitting on the sofa with a stone face, and her parents, Mr. Maurice and Mrs. Gabrielle. And a man I didn't know gray suit briefcase looked like a lawyer or notary. I stopped in my tracks. "What is this?" "Mom, sit down, please." "I am not going to sit down until you tell me what is happening here." David took a deep breath. It is a family meeting. To resolve this in the best way." Linda squeezed my arm. "Helen, we can leave right now." "No," I said. "I want to hear this." We sat down, Linda next to me facing all of them. Mr. Morris spoke first. "Helen, we were asked to come as mediators. David and Vanessa are going through a very difficult time. I am sure that you as a mother do not want to see your son suffer." "Of course not." "Then you will understand that sometimes sacrifices must be made for family." "I have been making sacrifices for my family my entire life." Mrs. Gabrielle intervened with that sweet voice she used. "Precisely for that reason, we know you have a huge heart and that you are not going to allow your grandchildren to be left homeless." There it was, the emotional manipulation. "My grandchildren are not going to be left homeless if their parents learn to live within their means." Vanessa let out a bitter laugh. "Sure, easy to say when you have a paid-off house and we have to support 5 kids. A house that I paid for with my work, it wasn't gifted to me." "Enough," the man in the gray suit interrupted. "Mrs. Reyes, allow me to introduce myself. I am Mr. Martinez, legal representative for the Dominguez family." Linda tensed up next to me. "And what is your client doing here?" she asked with her lawyer voice. "We are here to present Mrs. Reyes with a legal proposal, one that benefits everyone." He pulled some papers from his briefcase. "This is a deed of sale for the property located at 47 Maple Street, Oakwood. Your house. The offer is for $300,000, $10,000 more than what was offered previously. The money would be deposited into your account, and you would have the right to live on the property for life, rent-free." "It is a very generous offer, Mrs. Helen," Mr. Morris added. "In fact, we would be the buyers, and that way the house stays in the family." I understood everything in that moment. They wanted to buy my house, put it in their name, let me live there for life, but without being the owner. And when I died, the house would be for David and Vanessa. No, it would be for the Dominguezes. "And if I refuse to sell the what?" I asked. Mr. Martinez smiled a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Well, ma'am, that would be unfortunate because we would have to consider other legal options." "Like what?" "Like a lawsuit for grandparent support. David is your only son. The children are your only grandchildren. Legally, you have an obligation to contribute to their maintenance if the parents cannot." My blood froze. "Are you threatening me?" "It is not a threat," said Mr. Maurice with fake kindness. "It is the law. Grandparents have responsibilities." Linda sprang up like a coiled spring. "That is completely false. Grandparent support obligations only apply when the parents are incapacitated or deceased. David and Vanessa are healthy and working." Mr. Martinez didn't even flinch. "There is case law where grandparents have been forced to contribute when parents are in critical economic situations." And are you going to prove in a trial that they are in crisis because they went $30,000 into debt on luxuries? Is that going to look good on a record? A tense silence fell. David finally spoke. Mom, please, it doesn't have to come to this. Just sign. Sell the house. You keep living there. Everyone wins. Except me, who loses my assets. It is always about you, Vanessa exploded. Always you, and your grandkids. Don't you care about them? I care about them more than you do, clearly. How dare you? I dare, because I am the only one who takes care of them without charging the only one who gives them gifts. They don't open the only one who cleans your house when you go on vacation. You did that because you wanted to. Vanessa spat. I did it because I am an idiot, but not anymore. I stood up. I am not going to sign anything. My house is not for sale, and if you want to sue me, go ahead. See you in court. Mom. David looked desperate, truly desperate. If you don't help us on Monday, they take the house. On Monday, they are going to throw your grandkids onto the street. And there it was, the final ultimatum. Then maybe it is time they learn that you cannot live on appearances. I walked toward the door. Mr. Maurice stood up. You are making a mistake, Helen. When you see your grandchildren suffering, you are going to regret it. What is going to make me suffer, I said, turning toward him, is knowing that I allowed you to keep using your daughter to manipulate my son, but that is over. I left that house with Linda right on my heels. In the car, my hands were shaking. Did I do right, friend? You did perfectly. That was an ambush. They took you there to pressure you, intimidate you. Classic abuser tactics. Can they really sue me? They can try. They are not going to win, but they are going to make you go through legal hell. And if they really lose their house... Linda took my hand. Helen, listen to me well. It is not your responsibility to save them from the consequences of their decisions. You didn't get them into debt. They dug that hole all by themselves. She was right, but a mother's heart doesn't understand reasons. That night, I couldn't eat dinner. I sat in my living room in the dark, wondering if I had been too harsh, if I should have signed just so my grandkids wouldn't suffer. But then I remembered something. The kids were already suffering. They had parents who taught them that appearances matter more than the truth, that money can be obtained by manipulating others, that grandparents exist to be used. If I gave in now, what lesson was I teaching them? No, this wasn't just for me. It was for them too, because they deserved parents who loved them more than their ego. And if David needed to hit rock bottom to understand that, then let him hit rock bottom, even if it broke my heart to see him fall. What I didn't know is that on Monday, they weren't just going to lose the house. Something was going to happen that would change everything, something that neither they nor I saw coming. And when it happened, it would finally become clear who was right. Monday dawned gray. Heavy clouds over the city, as if the sky knew something bad was about to happen. I got up early. I hadn't slept well. All night I dreamed of my grandkids crying with boxes on the street, with David blaming me. I made my coffee, I sat by the window, and I waited. I didn't know exactly what I was waiting for. A desperate call. A furious message. Silence. At 9 a.m, my phone vibrated, but it wasn't David. It was an unknown number. Mrs. Helen Reyes. Yes, who is speaking? I am Principal Patricia, Director of Lincoln Elementary School. Matt and the twins, Sophie and Val, study here. My heart raced. Did something happen? Are the kids okay? The kids are fine physically, but I need you to come to the school. It is urgent. Why, where are their parents? Please, ma'am, come. It is important. She hung up. I got dressed in a rush. I called Linda. Friend, the school called me. Is something wrong with the kids? I am heading to your house. Don't go alone. 20 minutes later, we were on our way to the elementary school. We arrived at the school, a private school. one of those that charges $500 a month per child. The principal received us in her office, a woman of about 50, serious but kind. "Mrs. Reyes, thank you for coming." "What happened? Where are the kids?" "They are in class. Relax. But I need to speak with you about a delicate situation." I sat down, Linda next to me. The principal pulled out a folder. "The Reyes Dominguez children have 3 months of unpaid tuition. It is $4,500 in debt." 3 months. "Yes, we have called the parents multiple times. Mr. David promises to pay, but never does. Mrs. Vanessa stopped answering our calls." "And why are you calling me?" "Because this morning Mr. David came in. He said that you, as the grandmother, would be taking charge of the tuition from now on. He left your information. He said you would come today to settle the payment." The rage rose from my stomach to my throat. He had no right to say that. "I understand. That is why I wanted to speak with you personally. Mrs. Reyes, if the payment is not regularized this week, I will have to unenroll the children." "Unenroll them?" "It is school policy. I'm very sorry. They are good kids, but I cannot make exceptions." Linda intervened. "Did David sign any document committing her to pay?" "No, he only gave the name and phone number." "Then legally she has no obligation." The principal looked at me with sadness. "Legally, no. Morally. Well, they are your grandchildren." There it was again, emotional blackmail disguised as concern. "Let me speak to my son," I said with a trembling voice. "Of course, but I need an answer before Friday." We left that school in silence. In the car, I exploded. How dare he? How dare he use his children like that? "Helen, breathe." "I can't breathe." "He is using those kids as hostages. I know, and it is despicable, but you cannot carry this. And I let them get kicked out of school in the middle of the school year. It is not your decision, it is their parents." But the kids weren't to blame. When we arrived at my house, I dialed David. He didn't answer. I dialed again. Nothing. I wrote to him. "I need to talk to you now about the school." Read. But he didn't reply. An hour passed. 2 hours. At 3 in the afternoon, he finally replied. "I know why you are calling. I don't have the money, Mom. That is why I gave your name. You can pay it." "I can pay it. It is $1,500 a month for the 3 of them from my pension of $2,000. "Well, you'd be short $500, but surely you have savings." He was asking me to use my entire pension on his children and me. What was I going to live on? "David, I am not going to pay that tuition." Then they are going to kick them out. Then find them a public school. Public school? Are you crazy? What is Vanessa's family going to say? To hell with Vanessa's family. Silence on the other end. I had never yelled like that. I had never said a bad word. "Mom?" "No, David. Listen to me well. I am not going to play your game. Those kids are your responsibility, not mine. If you cannot pay tuition of $500 per child, then enroll them in public school where education is free. Vanessa will never accept that. Then let Vanessa find a way to pay. Let her sell her designer bags, her expensive shoes, her boutique clothes. We already sold all that." I stayed silent. "You already sold it?" "Yes, the last 2 months we sold everything we could. Clothes, jewelry, the car, everything to pay the most urgent things. But it is not enough, Mom. It is never enough." His voice cracked. Today they officially notified us. On Friday, the bank is coming. They are going to evict us. "David, the kids don't know yet. I don't know how to tell them we are going to lose their house, their room, their toys, everything." For the first time in months, I heard my son truly broken, not manipulative, not demanding, simply destroyed. "Where are you going to go?" I asked with a soft voice. "With Vanessa's parents. But their house only has 2 extra rooms. We are going to be tight. The kids are going to have to share spaces. And Mr. Morris already made it clear it is temporary, maximum 3 months. And then, I don't know, Mom. I don't know." I closed my eyes. I breathed deep. David, do you want me to tell you the truth? Tell me. This was inevitable. You were living a lie, an expensive lie, and lies always fall. I know. You know, really. Yes. Vanessa and I had a horrible fight last night. She blames me. She says I don't earn enough, that I am not man enough, that her father was right about me. And what did you tell her? I told her that she forced me to live like this to show off, to get into debt. But I also wanted to mom. I wanted to prove I wasn't the poor guy everyone believed, that I deserved to be with her. Son, you were never poor. You were humble, which is different. I know that now, but when they raise you, telling you that you aren't enough, he broke, he cried. And my mother's heart wanted to fly to him, hug him, save him. But my reason stopped me. David, I am going to tell you something, and I want you to listen well. Tell me. I am not going to give you money. I am not going to sell my house. I am not going to pay the kids' tuition. Mom. But I am going to do something better. What? I am going to teach you to survive without lies. How, when you get out of that house, when you are with Vanessa's parents, when you truly hit rock bottom, I am going to be there. Not with money, with something better, with what you need to learn. And what is that? Dignity, honesty, true humility. Silence. Do you still love me? He asked with the voice of a small child, and there I broke. I love you more than I can explain. That is why I am not going to save you, because saving you would be condemning you to keep falling. I hung up. I let myself fall onto the sofa. Linda, who had heard everything, hugged me. You did the right thing. Then why does it feel so bad? Because loving hurts, my friend, especially when you love enough to let them fall. The following days were torture. On Tuesday, Vanessa texted me, the first direct message she had sent me in months. I hope you are happy. Your grandchildren are going to grow up hating you for this. I didn't reply. On Wednesday, Mr. Maurice called me. Helen, you are still in time to rectify this. There is nothing to rectify. You are a cruel woman. I am a woman who respects herself. You should teach that to your daughter. He hung up furious. On Thursday night, I received photos of Matt sent from David's phone. The boy was crying, hugging a box with his toys. The message said, "Is this what you wanted?" I cried all night, but I didn't give in. Friday arrived, the day of the eviction. I stayed in my house. I didn't go to see, I couldn't. But at 6 p.m, there was a knock on my door. I opened it. It was a girl. No, it was a young woman, about 16 years old, dark-haired, pretty, with David's eyes. Grandma Helen. My heart stopped. Who are you? I am Danielle Reyes. Reyes. I am your granddaughter, David's daughter. The world flipped upside down. What? David is my dad, but he doesn't know. My mom never told him, until now. And she handed me an envelope. She said it was time for everyone to know the truth. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. It was a paternity test. David Reyes. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. Date of the test 2 months ago. And a letter from a woman named Patty. Mrs. Helen, we don't know each other, but your son was my boyfriend 17 years ago, before he met Vanessa. When we separated, I was pregnant. I never told him because he went away to study, and I didn't want to ruin his future. I raised Danielle alone. We managed. But 2 months ago, Danielle found old photos. She investigated. She found David on social media. She contacted him. She asked him for the test. David took it. But he hasn't told me anything. He hasn't spoken to Danielle since he knew the results. His daughter deserves to meet her family, and you deserve to know you have another granddaughter, one who never asked you for anything, but who wants to know you, Patty. I looked up at that girl, my granddaughter, my first granddaughter, actually, and I broke down crying. Come in, my child, please, come in. And while she entered shyly into my house, While I made her hot chocolate with shaking hands, while I listened to her story, I understood something. David had not only been lying about money, he had been lying about everything. And Vanessa was about to discover that her perfect husband had secrets she never imagined. This was no longer just about a house. This was about a family built on lies, and all the lies were about to come to light in the most painful way possible. Danielle sat in my living room as if she had always belonged there. She had David's eyes, my late husband's smile, my hands. She was my blood, and I didn't know until 5 minutes ago. "Tell me everything," I told her while pouring the hot chocolate. "From the beginning." And she told me. Her mother, Patty, had met David in college. They dated for 2 years. He was different, then she said. Humble, hardworking, a dreamer. When Patty got pregnant, David had just gotten a scholarship to study a graduate program in Boston, 6 months away. "My mom decided not to tell him," Danielle explained. "She said she didn't want to ruin his future, that she would take charge." "And how did you survive?" "My mom is a nurse. She earned just enough. My grandparents helped us. It wasn't easy, but we never lacked anything important." "Why did you look for David now?" Danielle lowered her gaze. "Because my mom is sick, breast cancer, stage 3, and I wanted to meet my dad before it was too late." My throat closed up. "How did you find him?" "Social media. I searched his name, his photo. I saw his posts with his wife and his other kids, and it hurt Grandma. It hurt to see that he had this perfect family while I grew up wondering why my dad didn't want me. He didn't know my child. Now he does know. I wrote to him 2 months ago. I asked him to take the test. He said yes. We went to the lab. It came out positive. And afterwards, he disappeared." "Disappeared?" "He stopped answering my messages, blocked my number. As if I were a mistake he wanted to erase." The rage I felt in that moment was different from everything before. My son, my David. He hadn't just lied about money, he had abandoned a daughter. "Does Vanessa know?" I asked. "I don't think so. That is why I came to you. Because my mom said you deserved to know, and that maybe you would want to know me even if he didn't." I hugged her. I hugged her like I should have hugged her 16 years ago. "My precious child. Of course I want to know you, and David is going to answer for this. I promise you." That night, Danielle stayed with me. We talked until dawn. She told me about her life, her dreams, her fears. She was brilliant. She studied medicine at a public university. She worked part-time cleaning offices to help her mom with expenses. Everything David should have been, and everything his other children raised in luxury and lies, were not. The next day, Saturday morning, I called my sisters. "I need you to come over, now." When Stella and Lucy arrived and met Danielle, they cried. "She is identical to David when he was a boy," Stella said, wiping away tears. "She is better than David," I corrected, "because she has something he lost a long time ago, dignity." "What are you going to do?" Lucy asked. "I am going to organize a meeting where all the lies come to light." "Are you sure, Helen?" "Completely." I called David. "I need you to come to my house tomorrow Sunday at 12 noon, you, Vanessa, and her parents." "Mom, we are in the middle of the eviction. I don't have time for—" "It is not a request, David. It is an order. Either you come or I go to your in-laws' house and make the scene there." Silence. "Okay, let's go." I also called Linda. "Friend, I need you to be here tomorrow as a legal witness." "What are you going to do?" "Justice." Sunday at 12, my small living room was full. On one side, my sisters Stella and Lucy Linda with her briefcase and Danielle sitting next to me. On the other side, David and Vanessa, Mr. Morris and Mrs. Gabriel. When they entered and saw Danielle, David turned white as a sheet. What is she doing here?" "Sit down, David." "Mom, this is a mistake." "Sit down." My voice resonated off the walls. He sat. Vanessa looked at Danielle with confusion. Vanessa's parents, too. "Who is this girl?" Vanessa asked. Ask your husband, I said with a voice of steel. All eyes went to David. He couldn't look at anyone. David, Vanessa insisted. Who is she? She is. His voice was barely a whisper. She is my daughter. The silence that followed was deafening. What? Vanessa jumped to her feet. She is 16 years old, I continued. Her name is Danielle. She was born before you two met. David found out 2 months ago and decided to hide it. Liar, Vanessa screamed at David. You told me you didn't have children. I didn't know she existed, but I found out 2 months ago, and you didn't tell me. Mr. Maurice stood up red with fury. This is unacceptable. You deceived us all. I didn't. How many more lies, David? Asked Mrs. Gabrielle with a trembling voice. How many more? Vanessa was crying out of rage. Our whole marriage is a lie. Everything. No, honey, listen. Don't touch me. David tried to get close. She pushed him. You know what else? I continued. While you were spending $3,000 in Cancun while you were buying $500 gifts for your kids, this girl was working cleaning offices to help pay for her mother's cancer treatment. Danielle lowered her head, ashamed. While you were asking me for my house, this girl lived with 3 changes of clothes because there was no money for more. Mom, please, David begged. And the worst part, my voice cracked. Is that when she looked for you, when she asked to know you, you turned your back on her just like you turned it on me? It is not the same. It is exactly the same. You use people when it suits you and you discard them when it doesn't. Vanessa picked up her purse. I am leaving. I don't want to be with this man for 1 more minute. Vanessa, wait. No, David. It is over. Everything is over. She walked out, slamming the door. Mrs. Gabrielle ran after her. Mr. Maurice stayed looking at David with contempt. I am going to tell you something, boy. I always knew you weren't enough for my daughter, but I thought at least you were honest. I was wrong. Sir, I can explain. I am not interested. For me, this marriage ended today, and we are not going to keep supporting a liar. He left. David remained there, crumbled, crying. Mom, I ruined everything. Yes, son, you ruined it. What am I going to do? I sat in front of him. You are going to start living with the truth for the first time in years. And my kids, and Vanessa. I don't know. Maybe she will forgive you. Maybe not. But that is no longer my problem. I am not your problem anymore. You are my son. You will always be my son, but I am not going to be your lifesaver anymore. I turned toward Danielle. But she, I said, taking her hand, she is my granddaughter, and I am going to be there for her in the way I should have always been. David looked at Danielle. Really looked at her for the first time. I am sorry, he told her with a broken voice. Sorry for ignoring you. Sorry for being a coward. Danielle said nothing, just nodded. Can I get to know you little by little? If my mom agrees, she replied with a maturity he never had. David stood up, defeated, destroyed. I am leaving. I have to think. He left, and my living room fell silent. Until Stella spoke. Helen, what are you going to do now? I smiled. For the first time in months, a real smile. I am going to live. I am going to get to know my granddaughter. I am going to help Patty with her treatments if she lets me. And I am going to stop living for others and start living for myself. And your house? Linda asked. My house. When I die, it will be donated as I always planned. And David has to learn to walk alone. Maybe he loses everything. Maybe he loses his family. But perhaps, just perhaps in that process, he finds something he lost a long time ago. What? Danielle asked. Himself. 3 months later, David and Vanessa separated. She went to live with her parents along with the kids. She started divorce proceedings. David moved into a small apartment, a truly small one of those for $800 a month. He got a second job at night in a warehouse. The kids visited him on weekends, in his humble apartment without luxuries, without appearances. And little by little, very little by little, they began to have what they never had: a present dad. Matt told me recently, "Grandma Dad doesn't have money for expensive toys anymore, but now he plays with us. Before he never played. The twins learned to make cookies with me. They loved it. Emiliano and Luna are still too small to understand, but they feel the change." David also started seeing Danielle. Once a week, coffee in a park. Awkward conversations at first, but honest. For the first time, honest. Patty, her mother, is in treatment. I met her. She is an incredible woman, strong, dignified. I offered her financial help for the treatment. She refused at first. "I don't want charity." "It is not charity, it is family." She cried. She accepted. Between Danielle, David, and me, we are covering the expenses. It is not much that I can contribute, but it is something. And sometimes, something is everything. Vanessa tried to call me once, 2 months after everything. "Mrs. Helen, I need to talk to you." "Tell me." "I want to apologize." It surprised me. "Why?" "For everything. For how I treated you. For the humiliations. For being the person I was. Why are you changing now?" "Because I lived 3 months in my parents' house, and I saw how my mom treats my mother-in-law, exactly how I treated you, and I understood." "What did you understand?" "That I turned into my mother, and that I don't want my daughters to turn into me." We met. We drank coffee. We are not friends. Maybe we never will be. But there is respect, and that is enough, today. Today is Sunday. Danielle comes to eat, also David, and the 5 grandkids. Vanessa drops them off. She doesn't stay, but she greets with kindness. My house is full of noise, of laughter, of homemade cookies that they now eat with pleasure. The gifts I bring are no longer expensive. They are made by me, with my hands, with my time. And they open them with real emotion. Because they learned something their parents forgot. The value is not in the price. It is in the love with which it is given. David keeps fighting, keeps paying debts, is still in therapy, but he is truly alive for the first time in years. "Mom," he told me recently, "thanks for not saving me." Thanks. Yes, if you had saved me, I never would have hit rock bottom. I never would have learned. And what did you learn? That the only thing worth it in this life is what you build with truth. Everything else falls. I hugged him. My son, broken and put back together. Not perfect, but real. And me. I learned that a mother's love doesn't have to be suffering, that setting boundaries is not stopping loving, that sometimes the best help is not helping, that dignity is not negotiable, not even for family, that the most expensive gifts don't buy what love wraps with the trembling hands of a grandmother, and that when they despise who loves you, when they reject your gifts, when they use you and discard you, don't cry for them. Love yourself, because a mother who does not respect herself cannot teach respect. And the best gift you can give your children is not your money, is not your house, is not your infinite sacrifice. It is your example. The example of a woman who knew how to say enough is enough, and who kept going with her head held high. Because at the end of the day, gifts are forgotten. Houses are lost. Money runs out. But the lesson of dignity that lasts forever. The end. If this story touched your heart, if you have ever felt invisible in your own family, if you have learned that loving also means knowing when to let go, leave me your comment. Tell me where you are watching us from. What part of this story reached you deepest? And if you also have had to set boundaries, even if it hurt, hit like if you believe that true love sometimes has to be tough to be real. And subscribe to keep sharing stories of life, of dignity, of women who learn to love themselves without stopping loving their own. Because we all deserve to be seen. We all deserve to be valued. And no one has the right to dim your light. See you in the next story. Take care. And remember, your value is not defined by who rejects you, it is defined by you.